Hey up, welcome back. Richie here from RW Hobbies, part number 6 of my Persian cat build. Last week we painted this beauty up. This week we're going to take it a step further. We get the decals down, not too many, and go ahead and get this thing weathered up. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so a little catching up since last time. So I put the main colors down. I did a little bit of detail painting since the last video. I don't want to bore you on camera with that. So firstly, let's talk glove veins. These guys on the front here. So these guys, I did a lot of looking online at pictures and stuff, and I guess from what my research, it seems like early on, the US found that it wasn't really providing much in the way of performance upgrades. They just kind of welded them shut. So on most of your kits, like your Tamiya kits and later versions of, well, just later versions of the F-14, you don't have these. You just have, they're welded up. So you just have like maybe a panel line or a decal that goes on there. Whereas this is an Iranian early thing, so they do have them. So the painting seemed like it was painted from the view pictures I did find on Google showed painted basically just matching the fuselage, so the same camo colors. So you can see here I just painted them literally as whatever the colors next to it, and on the back just the blue or the grey, not blue, should I say? So that's the first thing, the glove veins. Second thing was the front here, just masked up using the panel lines pretty much, and put a little curvature on the end. Is the black kind of glare, anti-glare kind of paint right here. So as I say always in my videos, with scale modeling, you don't really want to use pure black or pure white most of the time. You want to use slight, it looks a little bit unrealistic, a little bit toy-like. So went with a rubber black, like knock it off a hue, and whenever I do kind of black markings on the aircraft, I always tend to use rubber black. That's my go-to. So Tamiya LP65 or XF65 if you want the acrylic alcohol version. So that's that guy done. Leading edges, simply masked up, follow the power lines, pretty straightforward. The wings and the tails. And they were done with LP11, which is like silver. Not crazy shiny, whatever, but just kind of right, for me, the right kind of shade for aluminum. So LP11. Now, the airbags, we usually use the deflated versions because the wings are going to be back. Now, the wings are going to be back, as I mentioned before, really just for storage kind of reasons. When the wings are back, it takes less space and it's easier to put on the shelf. So, these guys, and also masked up the square at the front here. Just again, simple marked off the square, and painted these separately and then added them in. Painted XF24 dark grey, and even before they had dried, with a lot of paint left in the gun, I took a dot of white, as I did with all the post shading on the other parts, and kind of bleached it down, create a lighter shade of grey, and just modelled in very light air pressure, modelled in a little bit to create that kind of weathered effect, because I didn't want just a plain grey block, so it kind of breaks it up, looks a little bit more realistic and natural for me. So let's think about it. So we did the grey, we did the silver for leading edges with the glove veins to the front, and that pretty much brings us up to date. And the last thing we did was to give it, you see, a lot shiny right now. So we did a clear coat of the old LP9, my favourite gloss clear. It just indestructible, just mix 50-50 lacquer thinner, hose it down, and it's good to go. So sprayed it all down, so it's all glossed, upper and lower. And the reason I do that, as I mentioned all the time, well, several reasons. Firstly, to protect your paintwork. So at this stage, if I'm going to clink the desk or whatever, it's not going to chip the paint, it locks it in. Secondly, it creates a nice smooth finish for your decals. There's very few and small decals on this, so that's not really the main reason I'm doing it. But once the decals are on, I'm going to go ahead and just spray over those decals with the same LP9 just to kind of seal them in and match the rest of the look. And finally, the reason I do it is you need a gloss on here for when I come back with weathering washes. Because with gloss, with the weathering washes, it's going to wipe right off and stay in the recesses, whereas the matte coat is going to be a lot more, it's going to be harder to get off, and I don't want it caked in, like a tank caked in like dirt all over. So I just kind of want it in the lines. So that's why we use gloss. There's 3 reasons. The most important probably is a ladder. I need it for the weathering stages, is why I use that. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and use the decals right now. There's not many. These HobbyBoss kits are pretty kind of stingy with decals. There's no stencils really. There's a few Iranian markings, about 20 or 25 decals to go on here total. So it's pretty straightforward. Get the decals on. I'm not going to show you how I do those because it's pretty straightforward. I've talked about it in every build series on this channel. I don't want to keep repeating my material. So simply just going to put them down using my micro sole, and yeah, and we'll come back and see how it looks. All right, so following day, got all the decals on, no real problem there. But not usually HobbyBoss are pretty easy to work with. Just let you know, these ones, it took a really long time to release from a backing paper. Like, I put it in hot water as I always do, and yeah, it took a good 5 minutes or so for it to release, which is kind of a lot strange because HobbyBoss are normally, you know, a lot easier, quicker and easier to work with than that. So just be patient, just let them, you know, sit, dip them in water, and then just leave it 5-10 minutes. Not going to go anywhere till they're fully released. If you try to take them off too early, then you rip them and it gets all kinds of issues. But got them all on, including all the no steps on the top. Not too many on this one at all. And on the other side, a few underneath. So did that, then I came back and sprayed another LP9 over the top of all the decals to seal it all in last night. Now this morning we're going to do weathering, which should be start the wash. So I've done one half already for the wash, and you can see I've done this side and I haven't done this side, and I'm not sure on the camera if you can see the difference. This is very clean. Here you can see some grime, some panel lines, the rivets are showing, and on the other side of the wing, maybe on the grey, you can see a little bit more. Again, this one's done. Show the light, you can see it, and this one isn't. So just the point of this really is just to sorry, it's a little bit extra here, so I'm going to wipe off. The point of this really is just to add some interest to the panel lines and bring all the colors together and kind of blend them a little bit. So here on the stabilizers, again, this one I've done, this one I've not. So what we're simply going to do is take my wash, which I'm using Flory Models Dark Dirt. There's a ton of other ones too. This is almost done, so I did add a lot of water to this just to thin it out a little bit. Because when you get to the bottom, we find it gets a little bit gloopy. Then simply take a brush, and all you're going to do is just smear it all on, like that. Super easy. And the beauty of this is, if you mess up, you can just wash it off. And the point I mentioned earlier with this is the fact we do a gloss coat means it comes off a lot bit easier. If you do a matte coat or a semi-gloss, it's going to take a little bit longer to scrubbing to get this thing off and stay more. You've got quite a lot on there. Okay. So you simply do that, leave, I propped it up there, leave it for like 20-30 minutes to dry, and then you're just going to wipe it off. And here's one I made earlier. So I did this one a couple of hours ago actually, so it's all dry. Take a bit of paper towel, I just wet it with my mouth, lick it a little bit, get it moist, and simply just rub it, and it comes right off. What I have found here, I used to cut little bits of tissue, like kitchen roll up. I find just the bigger the piece, actually the easier it is. You just get it up easier and fall around like little pieces you cut up. And just go in the direction of the airflow, which is going to be front to back on this. And there we go. As easy as that. Again, I'm not sure the light, but turn the light off and might see it better. Okay. And again, in this light, you can see that wing we did, this one we didn't. All right, simple as that. So work my way around the aircraft, do the whole thing, wipe it all off, and we'll be back to the next step, will be the neat oils. All right, so working my way around now with some neat oils, and you see it looks a little bit more kind of weathered up and grimy and stuff. And how I'm doing that simply, well, firstly, put a coat down of the old XF86 matte clear coat, flat clear coat. Now, I've used it in the past couple of years with some issues, as you've seen in my build videos, and that, I think, because I'm spraying at too low air pressure. Typically with lacquers, I'm spraying about 10 to 12 psi. With this, I cranked up to 20 psi, sprayed it down, it went down beautifully, no problems at all. Not completely flat, but I got a little bit of sheen in the sunlight, or the direct light coming down here, which is more realistic. These things aren't completely flat. Now, using enamel thinner X20 with the blue top, and you can see that's all I've used in like 5 years. This thing's going to last you a lifetime. So basically took my Abteilung Starship Filth oil paint, a little drop in here, and with pipette, just a drop of enamel thinner, just to soften it up. So what I've done then is, you can see on here, I kind of worked around the aircraft, the upper side. I kind of picked out power lines and basically just ran down the power lines. You can see on these guys too. So on the other side, I'll show you in blue, it might be easier to see. Just take a very little bit of paint, and I'm just gonna see how my latest technique is dots. You don't get too much paint. So put dots down like that, and then with my stiffer brush, you see how well used it is. I'm just gonna run down a power line in direction. Blend it in. And like that, if you've gone too much, you can just spread it out, or you come back with a Q-tip and just wipe it away. And there you go. Gives that real, again, we're using an Iranian beaten up F-14, and that's the look we're getting. Maybe a little bit overdone, but again, I just like it this way. And the more you buff it, the more blended in it goes and less visible. You clean your brush out. And if you're not happy with it, literally one drop of thinner, enamel thinner, and this whole thing will wipe right off, and you can start again. If I take a little bit on my Q-tip here, you can just see how it just wipes away. As easy as that. If you've gone a little bit overdone. So that is pretty much it, and you can see where I've worked around the aircraft like that. So let me go ahead and finish off the rest. I still got the underside to do, but I've done the upper camo surface. Well, that's embarrassing. Welcome from the future. It's built and behind me, and you see I'm working on the Tiger tank again. So I've lost the footage from the end of the weathering section. So pretty much got the gist of it. Same as always do in our videos. Clay wash for power lines, matte coat, and then come back with neat oils, and that is it. So that's pretty much where we're at. So yeah, I thought I'd come back and at least put an ending to this video. When we come back next week, which I've edited already and it's fully there, that'll be the final part. So next week we're going to do all the last little jobs, get it all brought together, and then do a final reveal. So sorry for losing last little footage, but hopefully you stayed along, enjoyed this one, and come back next week to see it, because it does turn out pretty beautiful. Spoiler alert. So again, thank you for the future, and I'll see you next week. Bye.